Afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the Courage Host Show. It's W.O.R.K.S here, and I'm speaking from very frosty UK in Oxfordshire today. I'd just like to do a little bit of recap. To shape your destiny, we have to take several different actions in order to make it, to create the destiny that we want, our life. And as we are at different stages in our life, we perhaps need to do different things. It's not the same for everybody. Maybe you have already a strong belief, and so you're okay with that. Or maybe somebody else needs to find that courage and trust within to step out of the comfort zone, to make the changes that are required to shape your destiny. So I just wanted everybody to know, wherever you are in your life, whatever stage you are, it is okay. It is a process. And, one needs to feel comfortable with that before we actually can move on. So far, I've talked about courage and believe, and to be brave enough that you can make the changes that you desire, to face your limiting beliefs, which might be holding you back. In my last show, I spoke about the possibility of overcoming your difficult situations. And I shared a tool with the listeners last time, which is actually a tool that I use personally to overcome negative thoughts and beliefs, and to change the mood within you and the way that you feel. Because when you're not feeling too good, check your thoughts, check out what you're thinking. And then we need to change the thought. And then you start to feel better. And then the circle is broken. What I actually explained was that the tool was to become aware, to stand still, to become aware of your thoughts. So you actually realizing what you're thinking. And you will notice that how many negative thoughts you're thinking, and, are you actually thinking positive? And that the process would be to acknowledge the thought and the feelings that go with it, and then thanking it and letting it go. And putting in place, choosing to think on the more positive level. You could write certain things down. It's an exercise. You could sit down for half an hour and think about this. What I found very helpful is actually having my positive thoughts, the thoughts that I wanted to think to achieve the outcome that I wanted. And just embracing it. Having these thoughts that are not so positive, you can't get rid of them. You can't erase them, but you can process them. And once you embrace them, they will go, because there is no more resistance. I am not a scientist, but what I learned in my life is that every single experience that we have in our life is stored in our subconscious mind. So the good ones and the bad ones. And when we get into certain situations, the brain gets very active, and sort of like kind of alarm bells come on and says, oh, don't you remember when you were in a situation like this? This is what happened, you got the sack, or the relationship didn't turn out, because the brain wants to protect you from a very painful or uncomfortable experience. And I'd just like to share an example with you. What I actually mean by that is I worked in a small company, and it was my job to actually contact existing clients to gather more information, but also to listen for opportunities to sell the product that we had. I was in a probation time, and my results, they were not very good at all. So I was sitting there getting very worried. I'm going to get the sack. I'm going to be called in the office, and I'm going to be asked to leave. So my mind is doing overtime. And then suddenly I realized, hang on, wait a minute. I know what this is, because what my mind, my brain was remembering is a situation that previously happened. What happened in another job was that I was doing telesales, and I was not getting any good results. So I was actually asked to leave. I didn't like the job, so it just somehow didn't work out. And I was asked to leave. So my brain was remembering that situation and bringing up those feelings, these memories. When I realized that, I said, no, this is not the same situation. Get hold of your thoughts and think about the outcome, the positive outcome you wish to have. And I did this, and sure enough, after my probation time, I got a full-time job there, and I stayed there for many years. But this little story actually takes me quite nicely in over to talking about responsibility. Because we have to take responsibility of our thoughts, of our life, and to manage our situation. Because if I wouldn't have gotten the job, I couldn't have blamed anybody else. It's just me. We are responsible for what we say and do, and actually what we think. Some of you know my journey. I've been on quite a tough journey, and I'm not the only one. And it's taken me a while in my life to actually take responsibility for my actions, for what I was thinking and doing. And if somebody wants to know the story, there is an interview that Marina kindly did with me. But I like to move on to another story, which is talking about the responsibility and how it actually can affect other people. I was working in a team, in a small team, in quite a big company. And for some reason, one day we were having a discussion. We had a slight disagreement, and it was the company's policy. Agreed to disagree. So we gave the other person the chance to have their view and opinion about a situation or matter. But what I did is I started talking, and before I knew it, I completely embarrassed my team member in front of everybody else. I judged him. I told him how bad he was at his job and questioned him. Where do you think this would be leading? You know, his job and his career would be leading. As soon as I finished speaking my thoughts, I was absolutely devastated, because in that moment, I realized how hurtful I have been. But I have not only been hurtful to him, but also hurtful for myself. And I felt the consequences of that. And from that day, I made a decision to become more responsible, taking responsibility for my life. I became more mindful. I watched my thoughts, what I was thinking, because what you think, it's very easily to say if you're not in control of it or have some sort of like kind of awareness of it. I stopped judging people. I learned to be more kind to myself, and therefore I was more kind to others as well. I stopped blaming my experiences that I had as a child, which carried on for quite a long time in my life, and decided that that was the past. I cannot, because I lived with the implication of what has happened to me, which didn't make me feel very good. I didn't have a very good view of the world or the people around me, because all I was used to was hurt, shame, and guilt. But I managed to put that behind me, because that was the only way of gaining control and become responsible without, for myself and moving forward. I started also smiling more, because what you give out is what you get back. And to be one way, couple of things that I did to change my way of thinking and taking more responsibility for my life were simple steps. I started to take more responsibility for my health and well-being. I started to read up on nutrition. How can I make myself feel better and stronger and have more vitality? Exercise. I started to exercise classes. I enjoyed the walks and actually experienced nature. Nature itself is very healing. I started to read more mindful books, learned from books that challenged me in my way of thinking. I changed certain friends. I started to hang out with the people that were more positive and didn't gossip so much, because the gossip takes you back into that energy of judging people. And who are we to judge people? We do not know what those people have gone through in life, because their experience have made them who they are. And we have no awareness of that. So it's not a good thing to do, because we wouldn't like to be judged. Slowly but surely, my life started to change. I felt happier, I felt stronger, I felt well. And people around me started to change as well. So that was a small result. And it gave me the courage and the will to carry on with taking responsibility in my life more and more and more. Then, of course, it is possible that we actually sort of like to speak, fall off the wagon. And because life happens, we can get into difficulties or other situation occur that we don't calculate or we just couldn't possibly know. And I felt, oh no, this is not worthwhile doing. So I was kind to myself and gave myself a bit of time until I found balance, and then I carried on with the process over and over again. So if the improvements that you're undertaking to make don't quite work out the way you hoped for, just give yourself a chance. Just take some time out, which is also important. Taking time out to actually thinking about it, where you need to take the responsibility, what is going on in your life, How are you responding to people? What are you saying? A useful tool is writing a journal. Or what I have done, which was great, I loved it, was writing 3 pages in the morning. Any thoughts that came into my mind, I just wrote down. And it was almost like I just emptied my mind before the day. So any crap thought that came out went onto paper, dealt with it, and that was done. Yeah, if you like meditating, meditating is very good. And explore, read books, find who actually speaks to you. There is so much information these days about how to become more mindful and how to improve our lives and make changes. So yeah, I only can highly recommend it, and it was worth it. It is a journey. It's not going to happen overnight, but it is possible. And I like to prove with my stories that it is possible, because there are my stories. I've been through the process, and without going through the process and achieving what I did achieve, taking the responsibility, making the changes, having the courage, I wouldn't be here today. And that brings me to another subject that I would like to talk about, and that is actually acceptance. So, which yet again is another part of the big system that we are having to go through sometimes to make the changes. So we had courage, how to overcome, taking responsibility, and next time I like to talk about acceptance. So I wish you all a very happy day and best of luck. Thank you. Bye-bye.